What's up guys, Brent here with ElectricBikeReview.com, and today we are going over the Propella electric bike. So technically this is the Propella version 2.0. However, this model I have is kind of like a prototype version, and it's not technically available. It's going to be 2.2 is the bike that you guys will get, and it's a few kind of key differences between this one. I'll point them out as I kind of go through this review. But I just wanted to kind of state that right up front, that this is the 2.0, not available. 2.2 is the version you guys will be getting, which is even better. So yeah, that's cool. Now, this bike is a super minimalistic, kind of urban single speed bike that just looks really, really cool, guys. I love the way this bike looks. I mean, look at I love the black and the blue accents. I mean, this kind of almost like iridescent blue here on the rims. We've got these blue accents on the handlebars, the blue accent on the battery, blue accent on the seat, and we've also got the option to upgrade here to this front Aero rim, which I really, really dig. I come from a kind of like a racing background. I used to do triathlons a little bit back in the day, and I used to use these kind of wheels a lot, and I absolutely love the way that they look. This is carbon fiber. This thing is 4.1 pounds, probably going to be a little bit lighter than the standard rim that it comes with. However, I can't really measure the other one because I don't have it, but again, this one's 4.1 pounds, really sweet looking. And you know, Propella, the company they have an interesting paradigm. You know, their philosophy is kind of like, it's a lifestyle philosophy with these guys. And one of the things that they really want to do is they want to get people riding bikes. Like, you know, and that's one of the reasons why their bikes are so simple and kind of easy to use. Is their goal and their mindset is like, look, if we create a really sweet looking, aesthetically pleasing electric bike that is not super complicated to use, hopefully people who maybe they wouldn't be that likely to ride bikes in the first place, maybe they would try an electric bike if it's like this. And then I think their other kind of philosophy is, we also want it to look dope, right? I mean, again, it's going back to the blue accents and stuff. And I think that they have kind of followed through on that philosophy pretty well, at least in my opinion. Again, I really like the way this thing looks, and I mentioned this in the Propella Sport review, but I have a soft spot for single speeds, for fixies. I just really, really like them. I just feel like they're visceral. I just feel more kind of connected to the ground and to the ride. I really like them. So yeah, let's go over this bad boy. We'll talk about the specs of the Propella bike here, and then we'll take a quick ride, and I'll show you guys this thing in action. So if you check out the handlebars up here, it's really clean. Not a lot going on up here. Obviously, single speed. There's no gear shifters. And right now, I just want to point out to you one of the potential downsides, real quick, from of this Aero wheel. So I don't know if you guys can hear, but it's really windy. It's really windy today here in California, and I can't really keep this wheel straight because the wind keeps catching it. And that is kind of a downside to having these Aero rims. Is yes, they are aerodynamic. They slice through the air better. However, there's more surface area. So when you get lateral wind gusts, you are susceptible to having your steering jacked with by the wind. And when you ride it and you get these strong gusts, I mean, you can feel it. Like you have to almost fight against the wind a little bit. I mean, these aren't solid Aero wheels, so it's not going to be as bad. But again, I just wanted to point that out real quick because it was happening like as I was talking this thing. The wind keeps blowing this thing back. So anyways, yeah. So back up here to the handlebars. Really clean setup here. Just not a lot going on. There's no gear shifter. Really all we have is the control center up here, which I'll talk about in just a second. But first, I want to head over here to the front of the handlebars. And what I like about the Propella bike, this thing will not stay steady. What I like about the Propella bike is they're using a lot of name brand components on a lot of the stuff here. So, you know, there's not really a whole lot of generic, you know, no name brand stuff. They really kind of went for some upgraded pieces, some upgraded components, and I think that's what factors into this $1,200 price point. So $1,200 for this thing, it's a little bit more than, like, let's say the Propella Sport, which I just reviewed, which is only $999. And then also if you want to go for this upgraded Aero wheel, it's an extra $250. You know, so you're walking out the door with $1,450 for for this thing if you go for the upgraded wheel. And I think one of the reasons that this price is a little bit more, like I was saying, is there's some good components here. And so to start, we've got these Zoom handlebars. We've got Zoom brake levers. They are kind of standard 4-finger brake levers, are not adjustable because they are mechanical brakes. However, we do have brake inhibitors, or motor inhibitors, and as you guys know, I do love talking about these. So let's talk about motor inhibitors, what they do, why they're important, and why I personally just love them so much. So motor inhibitors, whenever you depress the brake levers here, there's a sensor inside that goes down to the motor and it shuts off power to the motor. So basically what that is doing is it's making sure that you're not going to be fighting against the motor when you're trying to stop. And this doesn't have a throttle, but even still, this does have a cadence sensor. And one of the things with cadence sensors is it takes, maybe like a half of a second or like a rotation or so of the cranks to get this thing activated. And with cadence sensors, it also takes a second for it to shut off. So like, let's say I'm in the city. I'm going, 15, 16 miles an hour, which is the top pedal assist speed on this bike is 16 miles an hour. I'm going as fast as it can go with the pedal assist. And up ahead in the road, I see this trash panda, this little raccoon that just jutted out into the road for whatever reason. And he sits up on his hind legs and he looks at me and he puts his paws up and he's like, please don't hit me. And I panic. I hit the brakes as hard as I can. But maybe the motor is still engaged, but because there is motor inhibitors, it will shut off the motor. So I'm not fighting against it, and it's going to ensure that I have the shortest possible stopping distance. And because I have the motor inhibitors, I don't hit this trash panda. He gets to walk away. I feel good about myself. Everybody's happy. Now, of course, that's kind of like a lighthearted, I don't know, kind of like a story to tell about motor inhibitors. But really, guys, I think that motor inhibitors are super important because it's just like a really beneficial added layer of safety. So really happy that this bike has that, and I wanted to just take a minute to celebrate that feature of the Propella bike here. So down here on the front, we've got 160 millimeter mechanical disc brakes. So this is, again, the 2.0. It's kind of like a prototype version. On the 2.2, these are going to be upgraded calipers and rotors here. They're going to be Shimano, like an upgraded version of Shimano. I don't know exactly what ones they are going to be, but they should be even better than what we have here. Stay. It just does not want to stay. Also, this is a quick release wheel with a 9.8 millimeter skewer, pretty standard. So, one of the things about, I was just talking to Court about this just before I'm shooting this review here, and we were talking about this wheel. We both really like it. We love the way it looks, but one of the things that might be a little sketch is, if we're driving this thing in the city, right, and we park this thing in a bike rack, I mean, it is a really pretty looking bike. I think that it's going to draw a lot of attention to itself, especially with that front carbon wheel right there. And because it's a quick release, like, it could be pretty easy for somebody to try to jack this. So that might be something to keep in mind. There might be some security measures you can add on here, some like special locking nuts or something. Guys, I don't remember exactly what they're called. Court was mentioning them, but I can't remember what they are. But just something to keep in mind. This is a really pretty wheel. Somebody might try to jack it. Okay. Now, I want to talk about the tires here really quick because I really do like these tires as well. These are 28-inch by 1.1-inch tires. Really thin, really streamlined, nice for minimizing friction. You should have a pretty good amount of not a lot of drag. You should get a lot of miles out of this as far as like the efficiency for the motor and the battery and stuff. It should help increase your range. Now, because these are pretty highly pressurized tires, about 50 to 75 psi, and because they have such a low low air volume, it's likely that these things are going to lose air pressure more quickly than larger air volume tires. So it's just something to kind of keep an eye on. Make sure to be checking your air pressure on this thing, especially because if this thing does get low, it'll be susceptible to pinch flats. We don't want that. Nobody wants to be changing tires while they're riding. Also, there's no Kevlar protection or kind of puncture protection on these tires, so might want to invest in some goo, some slime, just to help minimize the risk of flats. These do have reflective sidewalls, which are great. That's going to help this thing be nice and visible at night, especially since this is a black color, and this is the only color that it does come in is black. This is a 19-inch frame, and again, this is the only frame size that it has, 19-inch black. Propella is going to have some, they said they're going to have some different frame sizes, some different colors. in the coming months, coming years, but right now that's all we've got. So it's nice that these have reflective sidewalls. However, the final version of this, they're going to be Kenda tires instead of what are these things called? Vitaria. So these are an Italian brand of tires. Me and Court, we just looked these things up before we shot this review. So these particular tires are Italian. And then again, the final version is going to have Kenda, which I believe is a Taiwanese company. So a little bit more basic tire. Not necessarily a bad thing, but it is going to be a little bit different than what we see right here. So if we go back to the handlebars here, we've got this control center, which is nice and small. I like that. This is a King meter control center. To turn this thing on, we just hold the power button right there. And then again, with this control center, like some other control centers I've been testing lately, whenever you turn this on, regardless of what level of pedal assist you leave it at, it's going to revert back to pedal assist level 1. So I'm going to show you guys that here real quick. Let's say I like to be in the top pedal assist mode. So we'll leave it at 5, turn it off, turn it back on, and boom, it's back to pedal assist level 1. So not a huge deal. I would prefer that that it stayed at the level of pedal assist I'd leave it at, because like if I leave it there, it's probably where I want it. But that's how it works, so whatever. Now here on the display, we've got a 4-bar battery indicator. Now 4 bars is not going to be as precise as, battery bar indicators that have maybe like 5, 6, 10 bars, whatever. Obviously, the fewer bars you have, the less precise it's going to be as far as giving you, your battery readout. These are going to be 25% increments, so not super precise, but again, that's okay. Up here on the top right, we have a clock. Bottom left, we got your level of pedal assist. It goes from 0 all the way up to, again, 5. In the middle, we've got your current miles per hour. And on the bottom, we've got an odometer. And then if you hit the power button, if you just tap it, it will go back and forth between the tripometer and the odometer there. Now, if you hold the power button and the top button here, it'll turn on the backlight. So this is a backlit display, which is nice. I'm not sure if that's showing up here. It's pretty bright out. I can see it with my eyes, but the camera might not be picking it up, but it is on. Same thing to turn it off. Hold the power button and the up arrow. Perfect. Now it's off. Now this bike as well, we have a walk mode. So let's kick this kickstand up real quick, show you guys this. So for the walk mode here, we're just going to hold down the bottom arrow, and then the bike sets off into motion. So the walk mode, when there's no resistance on this thing, it'll get up to about 4 miles an hour or so, which is kind of quick. Now, right now it's about 3.5. Earlier I was getting up to about 4 miles an hour. Really the walk mode, whoa, stop. The walk mode feels a little bit quick to me. I think, 3.5, 4 miles an hour, to me it's a little bit quick. I think it'd be nicer if it was around 2 miles an hour. Now the plus side of that is, if you are going up hills, it's going to be slower, so it should be more reasonable for walking. So yeah. And then I think to get into settings on this, you can hold the up and the down button, and that's going to get you into the settings menu. Press the power button to toggle in between. Not a whole lot of settings here, but it is available if you want it. And then to get out of it, you just hold the power button and it gets back to it. And then again, to turn it off, you just hold the power button like that, and you're good to go. On, back to pedal assist level 1. The grips here are just kind of a flat rubber grip, but they are locking, which is great, especially on a bike like this where, because it's a single speed, I found myself getting out of the saddle quite a bit and standing up and really kind of torquing on the handlebars here. So because they're locking, it should help ensure that these things are not going to spin around on me. Kind of a nice little safety feature as well. Glad they have that. Also, Nico, remember what I was saying about the name brand stuff, so that's great. Now again, this frame here, this is aluminum alloy, and this bike altogether weighs 34 pounds, which is like surprisingly light. I mean, I know it is, obviously, this is really basic. There's no front suspension, no seat post suspension, no derailleur, no like big rear cassette, not a lot of stuff going on, but still 34 pounds. For me, I think this is the lightest electric bike that I've tested so far, and it feels really light when I'm riding it. It just feels really nimble. I think especially because of these narrow tires, it's just really easy to kind of flick this thing around. Really enjoyable to ride, and also because of this diamond frame here, and because it's so lightweight, like it's pretty easy to just pick this thing up and you can carry it around. Like it's not that difficult at all. And because we've got the battery on the down tube there and the motor in the back, it's pretty well balanced. Like, it doesn't feel too back heavy. The battery's pretty lightweight. It's only like 3.5 pounds. And the motor's like 7 pounds, somewhere around there. So it's a little bit uneven, but not that bad at all, really. Now, the battery here is 36 volt, 6.8 amp hours. So it's definitely a smaller capacity battery than average. So Propella estimates that the range that you'll get out of this thing on a single charge is about 15 to 35 miles. Now, here's what's really interesting about this bike for me. So again, the pedal assist on this goes up to 16 miles an hour. Now, when I was so 16 miles an hour, and I'm pointing this stuff out, and it'll make sense in a minute. Okay, so 16 mile an hour top speed, 44 teeth chainring, 14 tooth chain cassette in the back here. Okay. Now, when I was riding this thing, it felt like this 250 watt motor in the back was really helping me get up to 15 miles an hour, and then the motor kind of calms down at 15 miles an hour, and then it gives you less power to get up to 16 miles an hour. But what I found was when I was pedaling at 16 miles an hour, it was really the sweet spot as far as my cadence goes and my personal power output from my legs. The gearing is really, really spot on for this for 16 miles an hour, which is the top speed. So what I noticed is that when I was riding this thing, I wasn't really using the motor that much to maintain my speed. I was only really using it to get up to full speed. So I went about, how far did I go here? Oh, it reset. Well, I went about 8 miles on this bike yesterday, and the battery still reads 100%. I don't think that's very precise right now. When it's under load, it reads about 80%. One of the bars disappears, but I actually think that's pretty accurate because I wasn't really using the motor that much, and I don't know, guys. Like, it was just a really interesting feeling to have the gearing that perfect for the top speed on this thing. So really, really appreciated that. Really cool feature on this bike. Now back to the battery here. This is where you charge it. It's got a little grommet that just sticks into the battery right here. On the other side, to take it off, take the key, just give it a quick turn, and it comes off just like that. That's what this battery looks like. On the front of the battery, that little blue button, you can press that and it gives you a quick kind of power reading to see how much battery's left. Now again, Court and I were talking about this. Now Court was mentioning that he's experienced some issues with these bullet type batteries in the past, specifically with the pins that the batteries feed into. Normally there's only 2 pins right here. This one has 4, so it should be a little bit sturdier, and it should be less prone to bending, less prone to kind of getting gunk in them. So that's a nice little upgrade. Also, on the final version of this, so on this battery, to put it back in, you do have to have the key inserted and then in the unlocked position, and then you have to turn the key to lock it. On the final version, however, it's going to be spring loaded, so you don't have to have the key. You can just put it back in. The spring will unlatch, it'll snap in, and you'll be good to go. Also, on the final version of this, it's going to be the locking mechanism should be a little bit sturdier. I'm not sure exactly how, but that's what Propella was telling me. Last thing I want to talk about the battery right here is inside the controller right here this is a pure sine wave controller. Now that's really, really cool, and not something you really get to see every day on these kind of bikes. So what that does is, with this cadence sensor here, which a cadence sensor measures the rotation of the cranks, as opposed to a torque sensor, which measures the torque or the pressure that you're putting on the cranks. Cadence sensors, you generally get this real stop-start motion, kind of constant power on, ring, 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 as opposed to a torque sensor, which is kind of like a much kind of smoother roll on of power. But with this pure sine wave controller, what it does is it kind of, in a way, I think it kind of mimics what a torque sensor feels like by giving you a nice even roll on of power. So you don't get that kind of standard jerky start-stop that you do with most other cadence sensors on this bike. So that's a great feature, guys, and I really appreciate that about this bike right here. So let's try to put this thing back in, lock it back up, grab the key, good to go. All right. One last thing I wanted to mention about the frame here is that on the final version, Propella was telling me that they are going to actually increase the reach of the frame just a little bit by 1 inch or 2. So the geometry in the final version will be a bit different than it is here. For the full specs of the geometry, just head over to ElectricBikeReview.com, the write-up, and we'll have all the specs listed right there. On the bottom here, we've got a kickstand. It's not adjustable, but at least it is positioned pretty far back, which is nice because the pedals, you can spin them, right? And you don't get pedal lock, which is something I really don't like, because when I store my bikes, I try to get them out. If the kickstand is closer to the middle here, the pedals get locked on them and you can't pull the bike back. It gets kind of frustrating. So in the back here, we've got the 250 watt Bafang hub motor, 350 watt peak output with about 45 newton meters of torque. It's a pretty peppy little motor. It's nice and efficient. It's like a power sipper, right, as opposed to a power gulper. And, you know, 250 watts, it may not sound like that much power compared to some of these higher output electric bikes that we see, 750 watts, 1,000 watts, whatever. But again, Court and I were talking about this, and it's really interesting. Like the standard output for like a pro athlete is about 250 watts. So again, this may not sound like a powerful motor, but 250 watts is like having a pro athlete on the back of your bike helping you pedal this thing. So when you think about it that way, it kind of puts it into perspective. And honestly, this thing does feel pretty zippy even for a little 250 watt motor. Not super powerful or anything because it is 250 watts, but I think it gets the job done for the kind of philosophy of use, the paradigm for this bike, which is kind of just cruising through the city, probably not be going that fast, especially with a top speed of 16 miles an hour. So I think that motor fits well for this bike. I also dig these deep dish rims here in the back, that really pretty blue color. It's just, this is all matched so nice. They did a really good job of matching the stuff. And same thing like with the wires. You know, the wires are all black. They feed into the frame here. It's just, this thing is another kind of stealthy looking electric bike. You know, this motor really kind of hides nicely in the back here. That battery looks kind of like a water bottle or something, but it doesn't really look like a battery that much. I dig that. We've also got bottle cage bosses here on the bottom. We've got bosses for front and rear fenders, and you can also throw a rack here on this thing, front or rear rack, which is really cool as well. Another nice little upgraded feature, something that Propella thought of here, is this steel insert for the rear dropout. Just kind of helps ensure that the aluminum isn't getting mashed up back here. Just something to add a little bit of strength to this, a little bit of integrity, a little bit of durability. You know, that's a nice added feature. They didn't have to do that, but they added it. That's very cool. Chain here, there's no chain guard and there's no chain guide. But again, this is kind of a really kind of basic, simple electric bike. And I gotta admit, it does look clean without that stuff on there. However, with no chain guard, your pants definitely could get a little greasy. Your dress could get a little bit greasy while you're riding this thing. And there's no chain guide either on the other side. However, there's probably not going to be a lot of derailments here. This is just a single speed. You're not going to be shifting gears. So as far as derailments go, probably not going to be a big deal. I think the biggest issue with that I could see is, you know, just getting dirty pants. So if you don't mind that, whatever. Now, these pedals here, although there's a lot of upgraded features on this, name brand stuff, the pedals here are a little bit underwhelming in my opinion. I noticed that for me, like I've got kind of like hobbit feet. I have pretty big feet. And I noticed that for me, like my feet fell asleep pretty quick on these pedals. Just the edges of these teeth are really digging into the bottom of my feet here. Wellgo has some really nice kind of larger magnesium pedals, super lightweight. You can get them on Amazon for like 35 bucks. I'll leave a link in the written review here for these pedals. And you can also, they have different colors, so you can match it. You can get like the nice blue to kind of match this and stuff like that. So if you guys have the same issue, maybe have larger feet, that might be something you want to look into to grab something like that for this as well. So again, overall, really sweet looking bike. I dig this thing. Now it's time to take it for a test ride, see what this thing looks like in action. All right, let's hop on this thing, get it turned on. Yeah, let's just crank it up to pedal assist level 5. Let's get going. Yeah, I really like the tires on this bike, just how narrow they are. It reminds me almost of like a racing bike. Really like these. So again, we are in pedal assist level 5 right here. I'm just gonna pedal for a minute, let you guys see this. can probably hear the rub on the front brakes there. That should go away with the upgraded brakes that these guys are going to throw on there. Here's that front Aero tire. So I'm not really giving it that much gas as far as my leg power, but it does pick up speed pretty easily, pretty quickly. I mean, with just a little bit of effort, even though it's a 250 watt motor, I'm at 12, 13, 14 miles an hour, 15. But again, what's interesting is when it gets to that 15 mile an hour mark, the motor really does back off, and I think it's that pure sine wave controller kind of controlling that output. So here's a shot of the back here so you guys can hear the motor starting and stopping. What I really like about this bike, and just this motor, I guess in particular, this Bafang 250 watt motor, is just how quiet this thing is. And I feel like, you know, again, like I was saying, because it's a pretty quiet motor, and because we've got this battery here that looks like a water bottle or something, this bike is really stealthy, and it kind of flies under the radar. It doesn't scream electric bike like some other ones do. Here's that front Aero wheel. Now, even though they're going to change the brakes here, I'm just gonna do a quick brake test. We're about 15 miles an hour. Here's the front brake. Yeah, okay, these brakes are not that bad actually at all. Stopping power on this is fairly powerful, and I think it should be even better when Propella upgrades the brakes here to these higher end Shimano brakes. One last thing I wanted to show you guys real quick was just starting from a dead stop on this bike. Because it's a single speed, it can be a little bit difficult, especially because we've got this cadence sensor, which does take a second to start up. So like when I'm trying to cross the street or something, or I want to really get this thing going quick, normally I have to get out of the saddle and kind of really hammer on the pedals to get this going. But here's this thing from a dead stop, and I will give it, you know, a fair amount of power from my end, and we'll try to get this thing up to like 15 miles an hour or so just to show you. Ooh. There we go. So yeah, probably as you guys can see, it does take a little bit to get this thing going. But, you know, it's a single speed, and that's just kind of the name of the game. All right, guys, that's it here for the Propella review. Again, this is a really sweet kind of minimalist electric bike, single speed, 250 watt motor, beautifully designed in my opinion. Really love the blue accents here, the Aero wheel, the blue on the handlebars, the seat. Love the way it looks, and for 1,200 bucks, I mean, because of these name brand parts, I feel like this is a pretty good value buy still. They also have a 7-speed version for 1,400 bucks if you guys do want to be using this more in the city to tackle hills, stuff like that. But again, this version right here is 1,200 bucks, and yeah, fun bike, fun to ride, really enjoyed it. That's it, guys. Hope you enjoyed this review. Head over to Electric Bike Review for the full write-up, and if you are going out to ride, ride safe.